The red light on the camera blinked steady as Ryu Seonwoo stared into the lens and said the words that would destroy everything he'd built. "My name is Ryu Seonwoo. I'm the CEO of Hanul Corporation, and for the past 6 years, my company has been conducting illegal surveillance operations, corporate intimidation, and covering up deaths to protect profits." Behind the camera, Rachel Kim made frantic hand signals. "Keep talking. They're trying to cut the feed." Her face was flushed, adrenaline making her movements sharp and precise. Outside Channel 7's 9th floor windows, 3 black sedans pulled up to the building's entrance, sleek and menacing against Seoul's morning gray. Men in dark suits emerged with military precision, moving toward the lobby like a wave of inevitability. Taryn King stood beside the camera operator, phone in one hand recording backup footage, other hand gripping the USB drive that held every piece of evidence they'd spent 48 hours running to protect. Her shirt was torn from the motel fire escape. Her hands were cut and bandaged hastily. Blood had seeped through the gauze on her left palm. But none of that mattered now because Seonwoo was talking, and the world was listening. "I approved budgets without asking what they funded," Seonwoo continued, voice steady despite the exhaustion carved into every line of his face. His suit was rumpled, days old, stained with coffee and sweat. He looked like a man who'd been running for his life because he had been. "I signed off on operations I didn't fully understand. I was complicit through ignorance and greed. And when I discovered what we'd actually been doing, when I tried to stop it, my own company tried to kill me." On the production monitor, Taryn could see the live viewer count climbing with terrifying speed. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million and rising. The story was spreading faster than Hanul could suppress it, faster than their lawyers could file injunctions, faster than their PR team could spin counter-narratives. Han Seojin's face appeared on a second monitor, live feed from the building's lobby security cameras. He was here. The man who'd orchestrated everything, who'd turned a tech company into a surveillance state, who'd ordered deaths as casually as ordering coffee. He stood 20 feet from the elevator bank, gesturing sharply to his security team, pointing upward with barely contained fury. Min-jae huddled in the corner of the studio, 10 years old and terrified, clutching the backpack he never let go. Inside that backpack were his school assignments, a stuffed bear his uncle had given him before he died, and a photograph of his mother who'd passed when he was 3. The boy who'd seen too much. The son Seonwoo was sacrificing everything to protect. "They murdered my head of security when he tried to warn me," Seonwoo said, pulling documents from his jacket. Evidence of Project Sentinel that Seojin had tried to bury. His hands shook slightly as he held them up to camera. They covered up construction worker deaths. They ran illegal surveillance on journalists, activists, politicians, anyone who threatened profits. They built an empire on fear and called it innovation. The building shook. Not earthquake, explosion. Small and controlled, coming from several floors below. Deliberate. The kind of precision that required planning and resources and absolute disregard for human life. "They're forcing evacuation," Rachel said urgently, phone pressed to her ear listening to building security's panicked reports. "Fire on the 6th floor. 2 casualties. They're creating justification for forced entry under emergency protocols." "How long?" Seonwoo asked, not looking away from the camera. "Maybe 2 minutes before they reach this floor. 3 at most. Then we keep going." Seonwoo turned back to the lens, and Taryn saw something shift in his expression. Acceptance, perhaps, or the particular courage that comes from having nothing left to lose. "I'm not a hero. I'm a coward who took 6 years to develop a conscience. But I'm doing this because my son is watching, and I want him to know that truth matters more than comfort, even when it comes too late." The studio door burst open with explosive force. 2 security operatives in tactical gear, weapons drawn but not yet aimed. They scanned the room with professional efficiency, eyes landing on Seonwoo, calculating angles and outcomes. "Cut the feed!" one of them shouted, voice commanding but tinged with desperation. He knew what was happening. knew that every second Seonwoo talked, the harder containment became. "No," Rachel said calmly, stepping deliberately between them and the camera, arms spread wide. She was 50 pounds lighter and 20 years older than either of them, but her voice carried absolute authority. "This is international broadcast, live feed to 14 countries. You want to commit assault on camera with 4 million people watching? Go ahead, make this easier for us." The operatives hesitated. Training versus optics. Orders versus consequences. In that 3-second pause where they calculated costs, Seonwoo finished his confession. "Everything I've said is documented on the USB drive Channel 7 now has in secure custody. Financial records, surveillance logs, communications proving premeditation and conspiracy. The evidence is real. The crimes are real. And as of this moment, I'm placing myself under protection of international media and requesting asylum with the American Embassy pending formal charges." He took a breath, looked directly into camera one final time. "I'm guilty. Han Seojin is guilty. Hanul Corporation is guilty, and now the world knows." The feed went dark. Not by their choice. The operatives had someone cut power to the entire floor. Emergency lighting kicked in after 2 seconds, bathing everything in eerie red glow. But it was too late. The confession was out there, recorded, uploaded, spreading across servers in 12 countries where Hanul's lawyers couldn't reach, where Korean prosecutors couldn't bury, where corporate power had limits. If the system you built to hide crimes became the only weapon to expose them, would you pull the trigger even knowing it destroys you too? Taryn King found him in an alley behind a Hongdae convenience store at 11:53 p.m. on a Tuesday that felt like the end of everything. She'd been walking off her third soju at a grimy bar 6 blocks south, trying to forget her editor's voicemail about pending termination and source protection violations. Trying to forget the body they'd pulled from the Han River 2 days ago. Her source, drowned because she'd asked questions someone didn't want answered. The guilt was a physical weight. She'd gotten someone killed with her investigation into K-pop agency money laundering. Her contact, a young accountant with a conscience and a newborn daughter, had agreed to meet her at a riverside cafe. He never showed. 3 hours later, his body surfaced near Banpo Bridge. Accidental drowning, police said. Blood alcohol content suggesting intoxication. Case closed before it opened. Taryn knew better. She'd seen the fear in his eyes during their last phone call. Heard the hesitation when he'd said, "I think someone's following me." She'd told him to be careful, to take precautions. All the useless journalist platitudes that meant nothing when corporate power decided you were expendable. Now she was on forced leave while her network's legal team determined if she'd violated source protection protocols, which was code for determining if keeping her employed was worth the liability. The answer was increasingly clear. So she walked. Through Seoul's midnight streets where neon turned rain puddles into abstract art. Through neighborhoods where the city's glossy surface gave way to its working skeleton. Delivery drivers on scooters, street cleaners, the infrastructure that kept the illusion running. The crying reached her first. A child's voice, high and broken, speaking Korean too fast for her limited vocabulary to parse. Then she rounded the corner and saw them. A man collapsed against a dumpster, expensive suit torn at the shoulder and stained dark with blood. His arms wrapped around a boy maybe 10 years old, holding him close enough that the child's face was hidden against his chest. Both of them shaking with exhaustion or fear or both. Journalist instinct overrode compassion. Taryn's hand went to her phone automatically, thumb finding the camera app, already composing the shot. Document first, intervene second. The rule that had served her career well and destroyed her conscience slowly. The man's head snapped up before she could press record. His eyes locked on hers, dark, desperate, but absolutely lucid. Not drunk, not high, just terrified. "Don't," he said in English, accent marking him as educated, probably international schooling. "Please, don't." She knew that face, from the news, from the television in the bar she'd just left. from the missing CEO bulletin that had been cycling through Seoul's media all evening with increasing urgency. Ryu Seon-woo, CEO of Hanul Corporation, billionaire, most powerful man in Korean tech, third-generation chaebol heir, the kind of person who lived in a different universe from people like her, separated by wealth and influence and the particular gravity money creates. Sitting in garbage water with his son, bleeding. "You need a hospital," Taryn said, phone still raised but not recording yet. Professional distance, observer mode. Don't get involved beyond documentation. Hospital means police report. Police means we're dead. He coughed, winced, pressed his free hand against his ribs like something hurt deep inside. Both of us, within hours. The boy lifted his head. His eyes were too old for his face, holding the kind of fear that comes from understanding real danger, not childhood nightmares. "They hurt Uncle Junho," he whispered in careful, practiced English, because he told Appa the truth. Appa, father. The intimacy of it hit harder than expected. Taryn's finger hovered over the record button. This was the story. This was always the story journalists dreamed of. The powerful brought low, secrets spilling into Seoul's gutters, exclusive footage that would redeem every failure. She could film this, upload it encrypted to cloud storage, have it on international networks before Hanul's PR team knew what hit them. Her phone buzzed with a push notification. Korea Times. Hanul Corporation Board announces emergency meeting. CEO whereabouts unknown. Sources close to family suggest mental health crisis. She looked at the man on the ground, at the torn suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, at the way he held his son like the boy was the only solid thing in a dissolving world, at the blood that wasn't dry yet, meaning the injury was recent, meaning whatever happened was still happening. Mental health crisis. The phrase tasted like lie, like the careful language corporations used when reality became inconvenient. "Who wants you dead?" Taryn asked, lowering her phone slightly but not pocketing it. "My own company. The people I made rich. The board members I trusted." Seon-woo's laugh was broken glass. "The system I spent 15 years building and never questioned because I was too comfortable to see what I'd actually created." "Then call a lawyer. Call the media. Call anyone but a random foreign journalist in an alley at midnight." "I am calling the media." His eyes held hers with desperate intensity. "You're holding a camera. You're foreign press, which means you're outside Korean corporate networks. You're the only person in this city who has nothing to lose by listening." "Wrong." Taryn's voice came out harder than intended. "I have everything to lose. I'm on forced leave for getting my last source killed. I'm one lawsuit away from never working again. And I'm this close to giving up journalism entirely because apparently I'm really good at getting people hurt. You want help? Call someone who hasn't already failed at saving people." She turned to walk away, made it 3 full steps, almost to the alley's mouth, almost back to her apartment and her bottle of soju and her career's slow death. Then the boy spoke again. "Please don't leave my dad alone." 6 words. Quiet. Desperate. Absolutely devastating. Taryn stopped, eyes closed, breathing carefully through the sudden tightness in her chest. Thinking about another source who'd begged for help she hadn't known how to give. About the phone call that came too late. About the funeral she hadn't been allowed to attend because the family blamed her, rightfully, for asking questions that got answered with violence. She should walk away. This wasn't her country, wasn't her story, wasn't her problem. Getting involved meant risk without reward, liability without protection. Everything her editor had warned against. Everything her self-preservation instincts screamed to avoid. The boy was crying again, quietly, trying to hide it like he'd learned that showing fear made things worse. Taryn turned back, faced them both, made the choice that would define everything that followed. "If I help you, I document everything. Full access, no lies, no spin. When this is over, if we survive, I tell the truth. All of it, including whatever you're running from and whatever you've done." That's the deal. Take it, or I walk, and you figure this out alone. Seon-woo studied her face for a long moment. She watched him calculate costs, assess trustworthiness, make decisions with incomplete information. Finally, he nodded once, sharp and decisive. Deal. Can you walk? Yes. Then get up, both of you, now. She pulled out her phone again, this time opening a mapping app instead of the camera. There's a motel 3 blocks north. Cash only, no questions asked, the kind of place that doesn't keep records. We go there, and you tell me everything. You hold back even one detail, I call the police and let them sort it out. Understood? Understood. Seon-woo struggled to his feet, still holding Minji close. The movement made him gasp, confirming Taran's suspicion about cracked or broken ribs. Can you carry him the whole way? I'll carry him as far as necessary. The fierceness in his voice was absolute. Father protecting child. The oldest story. The purest motivation. They left the alley together, 3 shadows merging with Seoul's midnight crowd. Taran led, navigating by phone GPS. Seon-woo followed with Min-jae in his arms, moving slowly but steadily. The boy had his face pressed against his father's shoulder, small hands clutching the torn suit fabric. Above them, mounted on a convenience store awning, a security camera's red light blinked twice, then steady. Recording. Uploading to central servers where facial recognition algorithms were already running, matching faces to databases, flagging persons of interest. Someone was watching. Someone was always watching. That was Hanul's gift to modern Korea. Comprehensive surveillance so normalized that people forgot to fear it until the cameras turned on them. The motel room smelled like bleach and old smoke, and the particular despair of places rented by the hour. Faded wallpaper peeling in the corners. A double bed with sheets that were clean but threadbare. A bathroom the size of a closet with fixtures that had seen better decades. A window facing an alley, view blocked by a rusted fire escape that Taran mentally cataloged as potential exit route. Room 307. 3rd floor. Cash payment, no ID required. The desk clerk hadn't even looked up from his phone when Taran counted out bills. This was the kind of place that survived by not remembering faces. Minji sat on the bed now, backpack clutched to his chest like armor. He hadn't let go of it since the alley. Inside, Taran had glimpsed textbooks. A stuffed animal, something wrapped in cloth. The boy stared at the wall with that 1,000-yard gaze trauma creates. Present, but not really present. Seon-woo stood by the window, not looking out, because that would create silhouette targets. Just standing as though movement itself had become too expensive. The blood on his collar had dried to rust. In better light, Taran could see the full extent of damage. Bruising along his jaw, cut above his left eye. The way he held his left side suggested serious internal injury. Talk, Taran said, leaning against the door with her arms crossed. You have 5 minutes before I decide this is a story or a crime scene. Seon-woo reached into his jacket with careful movements, pulled something out. A USB drive. Small, black, unremarkable. The kind you could buy at any electronics store. Everything is on here, he said quietly. Financial records going back 6 years. Surveillance logs. Operational communications. Evidence of systematic corporate crimes conducted by Hanul Corporation under my authority as CEO. Everything. Conducted by your company, while you were CEO. That makes you complicit. Taran kept her voice flat, journalistic. No sympathy, just facts. Yes. No hesitation. No deflection. It does. The admission landed heavy in the cheap room. Most people in Seon-woo's position would have hedged, blamed subordinates, claimed ignorance. But he met her eyes and owned his guilt immediately, which meant either he was the most honest person she'd ever met, or the most sophisticated liar. Taran pushed off the door, crossing to face him directly. Then why run? Why not just release it yourself? Whistleblower immunity, public redemption. You'd be a hero instead of a fugitive. Because half of what's on that drive incriminates me too. Seonwoo's eyes were red-rimmed with exhaustion. I approved operations I didn't fully understand. Signed off on budgets without asking what they funded. Trusted people who were using my authority to commit crimes. I was complicit through ignorance and ego and the belief that if profits rose, the methods didn't matter. So you're not a hero. You're a coward who finally got caught. Yes. Again, no defense. Except I haven't been caught. I discovered it myself 3 weeks ago. Found the real operations buried inside legitimate departments. Surveillance programs targeting journalists, activists, political opponents of our investors. Industrial sabotage. Bribery networks. Money laundering through shell companies. We, my company, even covered up 3 deaths at a construction site to avoid delays on a government contract. Min-jae made a small sound, quickly muffled. Seonwoo's hand found the boy's shoulder, gentling. I tried to shut it down quietly, Seonwoo continued. Thought I could fix it internally. Brought evidence to my board, to Han Seojin, my second in command, the man I've worked with for 15 years, my friend. I trusted him with everything. His voice cracked on the last word. 2 days later, someone tried to kill me. Tried? Taran gestured at his torn suit, the blood, the obvious injuries. Looks like they got pretty close. They ran my car off the road near my mother's estate. Professional job. Meant to look like an accident. Single vehicle collision, driver fatigue, no witnesses. The car rolled 3 times before hitting a tree. I managed to climb out before it caught fire. Called my head of security, Junho, Min-jae's uncle, from a payphone because I knew my cell was compromised. He told me to grab Min-jae from school and run. Said Seojin had activated a private response team, corporate cleaners, the kind of people who make problems disappear. What happened to Junho? Silence stretched, long enough to become its own answer. Seonwoo's jaw worked like he was trying to form words that wouldn't come. Beside him, Min-jae started crying again, quiet tears streaming down his face. They found him this morning, Seonwoo finally said, voice barely audible. His apartment. They're calling it suicide. Single gunshot, own weapon, note expressing depression and work stress. But Junho was the happiest person I knew. He had a girlfriend. Wedding planned for next month. He was excited about life in ways I'd forgotten how to be. And now he's dead because I asked him to help me. The room got very quiet. Just the sound of Min-jae's muffled crying and the distant hum of Seoul traffic and the fluorescent light flickering overhead. Taran looked at the boy properly for the first time. Really looked. Saw the exhaustion carved into 2 young features. The way his hands trembled even as he tried to hide it. The particular stillness of a child who'd learned that movement drew attention, and attention brought danger. This was the choice point. The moment where belief versus skepticism determined everything that followed. Either Seonwoo was telling the truth, in which case helping him was the right thing, and possibly the most dangerous thing she'd ever done. Or he was lying, in which case she was being manipulated by a wealthy CEO who'd figured out exactly what buttons to push. Her phone buzzed. Then again. A cascade of notifications, urgent alerts piling up. She pulled it out. 17 missed calls, 8 voicemails, 43 text messages, most from numbers she didn't recognize. The latest headline on Naver News made her stomach drop. American journalist wanted for questioning in Hanwha Corporation CEO disappearance. Security footage shows foreign woman in vicinity of last known location. Below the headline, a security camera still. Grainy, but unmistakable. Her, in the alley, phone raised towards Seonwoo and Min-jae. Timestamp, 11:53 p.m. The image was frozen at the moment before she decided to help, making it look like she was filming them, documenting their location, possibly coordinating with whoever was hunting them. They know, she said quietly. They're already spinning this, making me part of your story, positioning me as either accomplice or victim depending on which narrative serves them better. Seonwoo looked at the phone screen, then at her face. Expression unreadable. I'm sorry. I didn't think they'd move this fast. You should have. Taryn scrolled through the messages. Her editor. Come home immediately. Do not contact subjects. Her lawyer. Serious liability concerns. Advise zero communication until legal review complete. 2 colleagues, both warning her to get ahead of the narrative before it buried her. And 1 message in Korean that she had to run through translation. Ms. King, we urgently need to speak regarding Mr. Ryu's condition. For his safety and yours, please contact immediately. Time sensitive. She held up the phone so Seon-woo could see. Who is this? His expression went hard. That's Park Ji-won, my executive secretary. 15 years working together. I trusted her completely. But that message... He trailed off, studying the words. That could be from her, or it could be someone using her phone. Or she could be cooperating with Seojin under duress. I don't know anymore. I don't trust anyone. Smart. Taryn stared at her phone, at the cascade of notifications, at the breaking news alerts positioning her as either criminal or victim, at the 1 voicemail from her editor that she could predict without listening. Come home. Cooperate. Distance yourself. Save your career while there's still something to save. The professional move was obvious. Crystal clear. Call the American embassy. Turn over Seon-woo and Minji. Claim she'd been helping them seek protection. Let the lawyers and diplomats sort out truth from fiction. Her career could survive this if she played it right. Might even benefit from it. The journalist caught in the crossfire of a Chaebol conspiracy. Sympathetic victim. Ratings gold. But she'd already played it safe once. Already chosen career over conscience. Already failed someone who needed help because protecting her own interests seemed more important than protecting a life. And that person was dead now, floating in the Han River with a blood alcohol content that didn't match who he was, but perfectly matched what the narrative required. If I turn off my phone, Taryn said slowly, thinking through consequences. I can't be tracked via GPS or cell towers. But I also can't call for help if this goes wrong. Can't contact anyone. Can't prove I was coerced if you're lying to me. Can't document anything in real time. I'll be completely isolated, completely dependent on trusting that you're telling the truth. I know. Seon-woo looked at his son, then back at her. It's your choice. I won't force you. If you want to walk away, call the embassy, protect yourself, do it. You don't owe us anything. Is everything on that drive real? Verifiable with independent sources? Yes, every file, every transaction, every communication, all of it can be corroborated. And you're willing to go public with all of it? Including your own involvement? Your own guilt? If it stops Seojin and brings down the system we built? Yes. I'll confess everything. Face whatever consequences follow. I just need my son to be safe first. After that, I don't care what happens to me. Taryn looked at Minjae. The boy met her eyes with an expression that absolutely shattered her. Not hope. Hope would have been easier. This was a resignation. The look of a child who'd already learned that adults make promises they don't keep. That safety is temporary. That the people with power rarely use it to protect the vulnerable. Please, Minjae whispered in his careful English. Please don't tell them where we are. I don't want to go back. Grandmother will send me somewhere and Appa will disappear and I'll never see him again. The specificity of that fear, the detailed knowledge of exactly how family and corporate power would separate them, told Taryn more than any confession could. This child had grown up adjacent to enormous wealth and influence. He understood how it worked. Understood that money didn't protect, it isolated. That power served itself first, and family was just another resource to manage. She thought about her source in the Han River, about journalism as weapon versus journalism as witness, about the difference between exposing truth and causing harm, about all the ethical frameworks she'd studied in journalism school that never quite prepared you for the actual moment of choosing. Then she turned off her phone. The screen went dark. The last connection to her old life, her career, Her safety net. Severed. The room felt suddenly smaller, quieter. The walls pressing in. "You get one chance," Taryn said, meeting Sianwoo's eyes. "You lie to me even once, about anything, and I turn us all in. I'll call the police, the embassy, whoever I need to call. Your corporate conspiracy becomes someone else's problem, and I'll testify against you if necessary. One lie. That's all it takes. Understood?" Understood. Good. She pocketed the dead phone. Felt its weight like a talisman against the decision she'd just made. "Now sit down and show me everything. Every file. Every crime. Every person involved. Starting with who Han Seojin really is and why he wants you dead badly enough to kill for it." Outside, 3 streets over, a black sedan pulled into an all-night cafe parking lot. The driver didn't get out. Just sat with engine running, listening to voice through his earpiece. Target location confirmed through phone records prior to signal loss. GPS last pinged at intersection of coordinates. Begin systematic grid search of 1 kilometer radius. Phase 3 containment protocols authorized. Repeat. Phase 3 authorized. No capture necessary. Clean elimination preferred. The driver acknowledged, shifted into gear, and began methodical circles. Patient. Professional. The way predators always were when the hunt was sanctioned and the prey was cornered. Sianwoo's hands shook as he connected the USB drive to Taryn's laptop. The motel's Wi-Fi was non-existent. His insistence, claiming any connection, created trails they couldn't afford. So they worked offline. The screen's blue glow was the only light in the room except for neon bleeding through the window from the nori bang across the street. Red and pink and electric blue spelling out luxury karaoke in Hangul and English. Min-jae had finally fallen asleep, curled on the bed with his backpack still clutched close. Every few minutes his breath would hitch, almost waking, body processing trauma through troubled sleep before exhaustion dragged him down again. "Project Sentinel," Sianwoo said quietly, opening the first folder. Rows of files appeared, each labeled with dates and code names that meant nothing to Taryn yet, but clearly meant everything to Sianwoo based on how his jaw tightened. Started in 2019. Han Seojin pitched it to the board as a protective intelligence division. Corporate security elevated to predictive threat assessment. He sold everyone on it as essential for competing in hostile markets. Said Samsung and SK Group had similar operations, said we were behind the curve, said modern business required modern protection. "What does predictive threat assessment actually mean in practice?" Taryn asked, pulling the laptop closer. "It means we identified people who might cause problems for our interests. Journalists investigating our practices, activists opposing our developments, politicians who wouldn't accept our lobbying money, competitors we wanted to intimidate, and we monitored them. Phone records, social media, GPS tracking through their devices. Some of it technically legal if you had the right warrants and relationships with telecom companies. Most of it not." He opened a file at random. Taryn scanned the contents. Transcripts of phone calls. Metadata showing the target's location history over 6 months. Analysis of their social networks and known associates. Financial records showing purchases. Travel patterns. Medical appointments. Everything about this person's life laid bare and categorized. At the top of the page, subject 47K. Opposition organizer, labor rights focus. Recommend escalation to Phase 2. "Phase 2? Taryn asked, though her stomach already knew the answer wouldn't be pleasant. "Active measures. That's what Seojin called it. Clinical language for harassment campaigns. Blackmail operations using information we'd gathered. In some cases, physical intimidation. There's a separate contractor division that handled implementation. I never saw those files directly. Never asked what Phase 2 meant operationally. He swallowed hard. I just approved the budget line. Every quarter. Like clockwork. 30 million won for advanced security operations. I signed it and moved on to the next item on the agenda. Taryn opened another folder. More targets. More phases. a journalist in Busan who'd been investigating Hanul's land acquisitions for a waterfront development project, an environmental lawyer who'd filed suit against one of their subsidiary companies for illegal waste disposal, a low-level government auditor who'd flagged irregular financial reporting in one of their quarterly filings. "How many people?" she asked. "Over 300 targets identified between 2019 and now. At least 80 moved to Phase 2 operations. Of those, 12. He stopped. Started again. 12 experienced what the files call terminal outcomes, which means they died. Car accidents, suicides, one drowning, all ruled accidental or self-inflicted. All conveniently timed to coincide with them becoming significant threats. The room temperature seemed to drop. Taryn's hands had gone cold. "You're telling me Hanul Corporation has killed at least 12 people in 5 years. I'm telling you I approved budgets that funded operations that resulted in 12 deaths. Whether those deaths were intended outcomes or collateral damage, I don't know. But my signature is on the financial authorizations. My authority made it possible. That's what makes me guilty." He opened another set of files. Financial records, payment authorizations, shell company transfers. The money trail was complex but followable. Payments from Hanul operational accounts to consulting firms that didn't seem to consult on anything. From there to individual contractors with military or intelligence backgrounds. Payments structured to avoid banking oversight, spread across multiple quarters, layered through enough companies that casual auditing wouldn't flag them. "The money all traces back to Hanul," Seonwoo said. "Which means back to me. I signed every quarterly approval, every budget increase. When Seojin asked for additional funding for security expansion, I rubber-stamped it. Because profits were up 15% year over year. Because our market share was growing. Because I had more important things to focus on than asking uncomfortable questions about where my second-in-command was spending $30 million per quarter." "But you didn't know what it was for," Taryn said. Not defending him. Just clarifying the distinction that would matter later when prosecutors got involved. "I didn't ask what it was for." He met her eyes. "That's not the same as not knowing. I saw the numbers growing. Saw Seojin expanding the division, hiring more contractors, requesting bigger budgets. I knew something significant was happening. I chose not to investigate because ignorance was comfortable. Because knowing would have required action. Because my life was easier if I just signed the forms and collected my bonuses and convinced myself I was building Korea's future, instead of its surveillance state." The self-loathing in his voice was corrosive. Absolute. Taryn recognized it. The particular agony of realizing you've been complicit in something unforgivable. That good intentions pave roads to very specific hells. That the systems we build to make life easier often make someone else's life impossible. "When did you actually find out?" she asked. "What specifically made you investigate?" Seonwoo pulled up a different file. Construction project photos. A high-rise development in Songdo, one of those massive planned cities Korea specialized in. Steel and glass towers rising from reclaimed land. 3 months ago, a construction worker at our Songdo site noticed irregularities in the building's structural surveys. He had 20 years' experience. Knew what proper engineering specs looked like. He reported it to his supervisor, who reported it up the chain. The surveys were falsified, corners cut to meet deadlines, safety inspections bribed, building materials substituted with cheaper alternatives that didn't meet code requirements. He pulled up a document. Internal memo, marked confidential. Subject line, Songdo timeline non-negotiable, manage internally. The worker kept asking questions, talked to his union representative, threatened to go to the media with documentation. Seonwoo's voice had gone flat, effectless. The tone of someone reciting unthinkable things to avoid feeling them. Seojin activated avalanche protocol. That's what he called it. Containment through terminal measures. Taryn felt cold spreading through her chest. Terminal measures. The worker and 2 of his colleagues died when scaffolding collapsed. Investigation ruled it accidental, equipment failure, inadequate safety protocols. But there are emails here. communications between Seojin and the site manager. They knew the scaffolding was compromised, ordered workers onto it anyway, waited for the collapse, then paid off investigators to ensure the right conclusions. Jesus Christ. The families received generous settlements, confidential agreements with non-disclosure clauses. Each family got 200 million won, about $160,000. Enough to seem generous, not enough to seem suspicious. Just 3 workers among the thousands who die in industrial accidents every year in Korea. Statistics, collateral damage. He closed the file with shaking hands. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know until Junho brought me these files 3 weeks ago. But I should have known. I should have been watching. I built this company from 3 people in a shared office to 30,000 employees. And somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing the people and just saw the profits. When did Seojin find out you knew? Taryn asked. I confronted him 4 days ago, Tuesday afternoon. Called him into my office. Told him I'd found the Sentinel files, that I knew about the surveillance operations and the Songdo deaths. Told him I was shutting everything down immediately, launching an internal investigation, cooperating with prosecutors. That I didn't care if it destroyed the company. We deserved to be destroyed for what we'd done. Seonwoo's laugh was bitter. He listened to everything I said, nodded, told me he understood my concerns, said he'd support whatever actions I deemed necessary, shook my hand, looked me in the eye, and said we'd work through this together. Then tried to kill you. Not immediately. He was smarter than that. Waited 36 hours. Made sure I went to visit my mother's estate like I do every Wednesday. Long drive out to Gyeonggi province, rural roads, minimal traffic. Had professionals waiting. They forced my car off the road at a calculated point. Sharp curve, steep drop, tree placement that would cause maximum damage. If Junho hadn't called to warn me 2 minutes before, if I hadn't been hyper alert, I'd be dead. The car would have burned and investigators would have found exactly what they were supposed to find. Exhausted CEO fell asleep at the wheel. Tragic accident. Such a loss for Korean business. But you survived. And grabbed Minjae. Junho told me what was coming. Told me to get my son and run because Seojin wasn't going to risk either of us talking. Said there was a kill team being activated. Said I had maybe hours before they eliminated every threat. I went straight to Minjae's school, pulled him out of class, told the administrators it was a family emergency. We were in a taxi heading to Junho's apartment when Junho stopped answering his phone. I knew then that I was too late to save him, that he'd already paid the price for warning me. Taryn's mind raced through implications. This wasn't just corporate corruption. This was systematic elimination of threats, conspiracy to commit murder, obstruction of justice across multiple cases. If even a fraction of what Seonwoo claimed was provable, Han Seojin and half of Hanul's executive leadership would spend the rest of their lives in prison. If it could be proved. If they could survive long enough to prove it. If Korean prosecutors, many of whom had cozy relationships with chaebol families, could be convinced to pursue charges against one of the country's most powerful corporations. You can't win this fight from inside the system, Taryn said. Seojin owns too much. He'll have prosecutors in his pocket, police on consulting contracts, politicians who owe him favors. Going through normal channels gets you nowhere except dead. I know. So you burn it down. Release everything. Let international media and foreign prosecutors do what Korean institutions won't or can't. Yes. And you sacrifice yourself in the process. Because half of what's on this drive implicates you. You approve the budgets, sign the authorizations. Even if you didn't know specific details, you're criminally liable for creating the environment where these crimes could happen. I accept that. Seonwoo looked at his sleeping son. If Minjae is safe, I don't care what happens to me. Prison, disgrace, losing everything. None of that matters if he survives this and has a chance at a normal life. A siren wailed past outside. Both of them froze, listening, tracking the sound. It Dopplered past, heading east, away from them. False alarm. But the moment of terror remained, electric in the air. We can't stay here, Taryn said. They'll find us eventually. They have resources we don't. Facial recognition access, traffic camera networks, predictive algorithms that can map likely locations based on your patterns and psychology. Every hour we stay static, they get closer. I have a place, Seonwoo offered. A property outside Seoul, registered under a shell company even Seojin doesn't know about. We could go there, upload these files to international outlets, force the story public before. No, Taryn cut him off. You don't get to control this. That's the deal. Remember? I publish the story. On my terms. With my verification. With my editorial judgment about what serves the public interest versus what just serves your personal interests. You wanted a journalist? Fine. But I do journalism. Which means I confirm sources, verify documentation, assess credibility before I release anything. I'm not your PR agent. I'm not your lawyer. I'm a reporter covering a story that you're a source for. That's the relationship. Clear? Seonwoo studied her face for a long moment. She watched him process the distinction, understand what she was really saying. I'll tell the truth, but truth includes your guilt. I'll expose Seojin, but I won't make you a hero. Finally, he nodded. Okay, you're right. What do you need from me? Access to everything on that drive. Names of people who can corroborate these files. Witnesses who aren't under Seojin's control. Technical experts who can verify the surveillance logs are authentic. Financial analysts who can confirm the money trails. And most importantly, someone on the inside who can tell us what Seojin's next move will be. That's where Park Ji-won comes in. Seonwoo pulled out his dead phone, stared at it like it might provide answers. She has access to everything. She's been my secretary for 15 years, manages my calendar, screens my calls, attends every major meeting. If anyone knows what Seojin is planning, it's her. But you don't trust her. I don't know if I can trust her. She could be compromised, or scared, or perfectly loyal, but being monitored so closely that reaching out to her endangers us both. Then we need to test her, without risking exposure if she's turned. Taryn thought through options. Get some sleep, 2 hours. Then we move, and we figure out how to make contact without getting killed in the process. You should sleep too. Someone needs to keep watch. She moved to the window, peering through the gap in the curtain without creating silhouette. The street below was mostly empty. A few drunk students stumbling home, delivery driver on a scooter, normal 2 a.m. traffic. No sedans with tinted windows. No men in suits trying too hard to look casual. Not yet. Taryn. Seonwoo's voice was quiet. Thank you for helping us, for not walking away. Don't thank me yet. We might all be dead by morning. She kept her eyes on the street. And I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because someone needs to and I happen to be here. Because I failed someone once and maybe this is a chance to fail less. But mostly because if I walk away now, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have made a difference. And I'm tired of that particular regret. Still, thank you. She didn't respond. Couldn't, without her voice breaking. Because the truth was more complicated than noble motivation. She was doing this for her source in the Han River, for the failure she carried like a stone, for the chance to save someone this time instead of documenting their destruction from comfortable distance. Outside, 3 streets over, the black sedan completed another circuit. The driver spoke into his radio. Grid search in progress, no visual confirmation, target likely sheltered, continuing pattern alpha. Request permission to expand search radius and activate Phase 3 contingencies. Static crackled. Then, permission granted. Activate all assets. Thermal imaging authorized. Building to building if necessary. Target must be contained before sunrise. Executive priority. No witnesses. The driver smiled slightly, shifted into gear, and adjusted his search pattern. The hunt continued. The door exploded inward at 3:47 a.m. Taryn jerked awake from the half-sleep she'd fallen into despite intentions. 2 men in dark suits burst through the splintered frame with practiced efficiency, moving like water around obstacles, weapons not drawn yet, but hands positioned for quick access. No badges, no identification, no announcement of authority. Just professional silence and reaching hands. Training took over before conscious thought. Taryn's hand found her bag, fingers closing around the laptop inside even as she rolled off the chair where she'd been dozing. "Run!" she screamed at Seonwoo. But Seonwoo was already moving. He'd been sleeping in the chair by Minjae's bed, still dressed, shoes still on, ready for exactly this scenario. Now he scooped his son up in one fluid motion, the boy jerking awake with a gasp of terror. Seonwoo backed toward the bathroom, keeping his body between Minjae and the intruders, one arm cradling his son against his chest, while the other reached behind to feel for the bathroom door. The first operative moved to cut him off. Taryn grabbed the desk lamp, cheap metal base, maybe 3 pounds, yanked the cord from the wall socket, and swung it at the man's head with everything she had. It connected with a hollow crack that hurt her hands but barely slowed him. He turned with mechanical precision, face impassive, and moved toward her with the same professional efficiency he'd shown entering. "Hanul Corporate Security," he said in accented English, voice calm and reasonable. "You are interfering with a legitimate retrieval operation. Step aside. This doesn't concern you. Fuck your legitimate operation." Taryn backed toward the window, bag clutched to her chest, mind racing through options. "You have no authority here. You're private security with no jurisdiction. You're breaking and entering, assault, kidnapping. We have all the authority necessary." The man reached for her, movements confident but not aggressive, like someone collecting a package, not confronting a threat. "Mr. Ryu's family has requested our assistance in locating him for medical evaluation. His mother is very worried. The child needs to be returned to appropriate guardians. His appropriate guardian is his father." Taryn dodged the reaching hand, nearly tripping over the bed frame. "And his father is standing right there making his own decisions. You want him? Get a court order." Then Seonwoo hit the second operative from behind with the bathroom door, driving all his weight into the edge. The man went down more from surprise than force, stumbling into his partner. In that moment of confusion, Seonwoo bolted past them toward Taryn, Minjae clutching his neck with white-knuckled terror. "Window, now!" Seonwoo's voice cut through the chaos. The fire escape. Taryn had checked it when they'd arrived, journalist paranoia paying off. She shoved the window open, grateful for the broken lock she'd noticed and not reported, and climbed through onto rusted metal platform outside. Cold air hit her face, carrying the smell of rain and garbage and Seoul's industrial dawn. Seonwoo passed Minjae through first, the boy's eyes huge with fear, but his voice silent. He'd learned not to scream. That knowledge broke Taryn's heart, even as she grabbed his arms and pulled him through to safety. "Climb down," Seonwoo ordered, already following through the window. "Fast as you can. Don't look back." Behind them, both operatives were recovering, speaking rapid Korean into radios. Backup was coming. They had minutes at most, maybe seconds. Taryn went first, testing each rung of the ladder before putting weight on it. The metal groaned and flaked rust, but held. Minjae followed, small hands gripping with desperate strength, feet finding rungs by feel more than sight. Seonwoo came last, moving faster than safety allowed, the entire structure shaking under their combined weight. They hit the ground with 20 feet still to go, Seonwoo jumping and absorbing the impact with a grunt of pain. His ribs, the injury from the car crash. But he stayed on his feet, grabbed Minjae's hand, and ran. Above them, one operative appeared in the window, already swinging through onto the fire escape. Below, they burst from the alley onto a side street just beginning to wake with Seoul's early risers. This way. Seonwoo pulled them deeper into the maze of service alleys behind the motel district. Left at the first intersection, right at the second, straight through a narrow gap between buildings where dumpsters created momentary cover. The sounds of pursuit echoed off concrete, running footsteps, radio chatter, the distinctive metallic click of weapons being readied. They emerged onto a main street where early morning traffic was just beginning. A taxi idled at a red light 3 cars down, driver drinking coffee from a paper cup, radio playing trot music. Seonwoo ran for it, Min-jae in his arms despite the boy's protests that he could run himself. Taran followed, bag banging against her spine, laptop inside, hopefully still intact. Seonwoo yanked the taxi door open and shoved Min-jae inside, followed immediately, Taran diving in after them. "Drive," Seonwoo said in Korean, then switched to English for Taran's benefit. "Anywhere. Now. I'll pay triple fare. Just drive." The driver, older man, maybe 60, weathered face suggesting decades working Seoul's night shift, glanced in the rearview mirror at 3 disheveled, terrified people. Took in Taran's torn clothes, Seonwoo's bruised face, Min-jae's silent tears. Made some calculation between curiosity and self-preservation. Then he hit the gas. The taxi lurched forward, running the red light, accelerating hard. Behind them, the 2 operatives burst onto the street, searching frantically. One spoke into his radio. The other pulled out a phone, already arranging for traffic camera access, vehicle tracking, predictive algorithms to calculate their likely route. Through the rear window, Taran watched them recede. Watched the motel they'd barely escaped. Watched Seoul's morning unfold with deceptive normalcy. Students heading to school, businessmen catching early trains, the city's machinery grinding forward while they ran for their lives through its gears. "They'll find us again," she said, breathless. "They have resources we don't. Facial recognition on every traffic camera, GPS tracking on any electronic device, access to telecom company databases. We can't hide from technology they control." "I know." Seonwoo was checking Min-jae compulsively, hands running over the boy's arms and legs, looking for injuries. Min-jae was crying now, delayed reaction hitting as adrenaline faded, but trying to stay quiet about it. 10 years old and already trained not to make noise when scared. "Are you hurt?" "Min-jae, look at me. Are you hurt?" "I'm scared, Appa." The boy's voice was small, breaking. "I'm so scared." "When will it stop?" "Soon, I promise, soon." Seonwoo pulled his son close, pressed his face into the boy's hair, tried to stop shaking and couldn't. "We're going to make it stop. We're going to tell everyone what happened and then it stops, okay? Just a little bit longer. Just be brave a little bit longer." The driver glanced back again, concern cutting through his obvious desire not to get involved. "Police?" he asked in English. "No," Seonwoo said. "Worse." That earned a sharp look, but the driver said nothing more. Just kept driving, weaving through morning traffic with the practiced ease of someone who knew Seoul's arteries by heart, who understood how to use the city's chaos for cover. Taran pulled out her dead phone, stared at it. They needed help, but couldn't risk standard communication channels. Needed information, but couldn't access networks without creating trails. Needed to verify Seonwoo's evidence, but couldn't reach sources who might be monitored. They were trapped between exposure and silence, between fighting and hiding, between Seojin's reach and their own limitations. "We need to contact your secretary," Taran said. "Park Ji-won. She's the only person who can tell us what Seojin's next move is, what resources he's mobilizing, whether there's any safe path forward. If she's compromised, we're dead the moment we reach out. If she's loyal and we don't reach out, we're dead from ignorance." Taran thought through options. We do it smart, anonymously. Create a new email account on a public terminal. Send a message that only she would understand. Test her response for signs of duress or cooperation. One message. If she's turned, we ghost and try something else. And if she's being monitored, if Seojin's team is watching her communications, then we use that. Send information that misdirects them while we do something else. She met his eyes. Either way, we can't win this alone. We need someone on the inside. She's our only option. Seonwoo looked at his son, still crying quietly, still trying to be brave about it. Made the calculation all parents make between risk and necessity, between protecting their child and giving them any chance at a future. "Okay," he said finally. "But we do it my way. We test her loyalty before we reveal anything real. The taxi driver cleared his throat. Where am I going? Good question. Taryn pulled up mental maps of Seoul. They needed a place with public computers. Somewhere open early. Somewhere crowded enough for anonymity, but structured enough for security. Hongdae, she said. University District. There's a 24-hour PC bang near the subway station. Gaming cafe. Lots of students. Lots of terminals. Easy to blend in. The driver nodded, adjusted course. They rode in silence for 10 minutes, watching Seoul's morning traffic thicken, watching the city wake up oblivious to the conspiracy unfolding in its shadows. The PC bang was a basement warren of gaming stations and coffee machines, populated by teenagers pulling all-nighters, and one man who looked like he'd been there for 3 days straight, eyes bloodshot, energy drink cans piling up around his station. The kind of place where nobody looked at anyone, where anonymity was currency, and asking questions violated unspoken rules. Taryn paid cash for an hour at a station in the back corner, position chosen for sightlines. She could see both entrances, the emergency exit, and most of the main room. Seonwoo and Minjae huddled at the adjacent station, the boy finally falling asleep in his father's lap despite the noise of gunfire and explosions from surrounding games. She created a new email account, random string of characters, no connection to her identity or history. Disposable anonymity. Then composed a message, weighing each word for information density versus exposure risk. Park Ji-won-nim. If your loyalty to Ryu Seonwoo is genuine, prove it. What is Han Seo-jin's next tactical move? Where are resources being deployed? What narrative is being prepared? Reply to this address within 1 hour, or we assume compromise and proceed accordingly. One chance. Make it count. She included the temporary email address and hit send before second-guessing herself. The message disappeared into the internet's vast infrastructure, bouncing through servers, encrypted by basic protocols that would slow casual surveillance, but not stop sophisticated analysis. Now they waited. How long? Seonwoo asked quietly, careful not to wake Minjae. She's your secretary, you tell me. If she's at her desk, if she's checking email, how long before she'd see this? She's always at her desk by 6 a.m. Prepares for the day, reviews my schedule, screens overnight communications. If she's checking email normally, she'd see this within 15 minutes. And if she's being watched? If Seojin has someone monitoring her communications? Then we're about to find out exactly how sophisticated their surveillance is, and whether they can trace an anonymous email back to this location before we can leave. They waited in tense silence. Around them, the PC bang continued its oblivious operation. Teenagers screaming at screens, coffee machines hissing, the peculiar combination of chaos and focus that defined gamer culture. Time crawled. Every sound became potential threat. Every person entering became potential operative. 37 minutes after sending the message, the inbox refreshed. One new message. Taryn clicked it open with hands that weren't quite steady. Sejangnim. They are searching hospital systems and hotel registries using facial recognition software. They have accessed CCTV feeds across Seoul through contracts with the metropolitan government and are using predictive algorithms to map your likely locations based on psychological profile and known behavior patterns. Han Seojin Bujangnim has called emergency board meeting for 9 a.m. today to formalize your removal as CEO and his succession to position. Your mother has been told you are experiencing acute mental health crisis and is being kept isolated at the family estate under what she believes is protective custody. I have attached the operational orders for the team currently hunting you. Phase 3. Authorization has been granted. That designation means no capture, only elimination. Permanent solutions preferred. Please trust no one except verified international contacts. I am trying to help, but I am being watched closely. The only safe move is to force the story public before the board meeting. Create international attention that makes elimination impossible without confirming everything you're alleging. I am sorry I did not warn you sooner. I was afraid. Please keep Minjae-nim safe. That is what matters most. Park Ji-won. Attached to the email was a PDF. Operational orders, exactly as described. Taryn opened it, scanned the clinical language that made murder sound like project management. Target: Ryu Seon-woo. Witness: Taryn King, USA National. Collateral: Ryu Min-jae, minor. Status: Phase 3. Containment authorized. Objective: permanent elimination. Clean execution preferred. Collateral damage acceptable if necessary for primary objective. Timeline: execute prior to 09 or board meeting. Authorization: Han Seojin, acting CEO. The document continued with tactical details, search patterns, resource deployment, contingency protocols if targets reached embassy or media outlets. Everything laid out with the efficiency of people who'd done this before. We have less than 5 hours, Taryn said, showing Seon-woo the screen. Until the board meeting. Until Seojin makes it official and consolidates power. After that, he controls the company legally. Controls the narrative. Controls everything. Then we upload the files now. Send everything to every major international outlet. Force the story public before he can stop it. No. Taryn was already thinking through strategy, drawing on years of investigative journalism experience. If we dump raw files, Seojin's PR team spins it as disgruntled ex-CEO making wild accusations during mental health crisis. They'll have expert psychiatrists ready to testify about your instability. They'll question the file's authenticity. They'll drown the truth in enough doubt that prosecutors have excuse not to act. Then what? We have 5 hours, and they're actively trying to kill us. We need credibility. We need a platform where the story can't be buried. We need you in front of a camera, live, telling the truth in real time where editing and spin become impossible. She thought through her contacts in Seoul. Channel 7, British Network, International Bureau here. I've freelanced for them before. They're the ones who received that anonymous file yesterday. Someone already sent them part of the story. If we can get you in front of their cameras before Seojin realizes where we are, he'll shut it down. Storm the building if necessary. Maybe, but not before you start talking. And once you're on air, live, the whole world watching, killing you becomes exponentially more complicated. It confirms everything you're saying, turns you into a martyr instead of a problem. She met his eyes. It's not perfect protection, but it's better than hiding until they find us. Seon-woo looked down at Min-jae, still sleeping fitfully. The boy's face was peaceful in a way it hadn't been while awake, terror temporarily suspended by exhaustion. How much trauma could a 10-year-old absorb before breaking permanently? How many times could he run before learning that running was all life offered? Okay, Seon-woo said finally. We go to Channel 7. We get on camera. We tell the truth before they can kill us for it. His voice hardened with determination. Let's burn it down. Dawn broke gray and wet over Seoul, rain turning the city's glass towers into blurred watercolors of reflected neon. Taryn, Seon-woo, and Min-jae left the PC bang separately. Basic counter-surveillance that wouldn't stop professionals but might buy seconds. Her first, walking normally, just another foreign resident heading home. Then them 5 minutes later, father and son bundled in cheap rain ponchos Seon-woo had bought from the convenience store next door. On the street, the rain provided cover but also complications. Harder to see potential threats. Easier to lose pursuit, but also easier to lose awareness. The kind of weather that made everyone hurry with heads down, perfect camouflage for people who needed to be invisible. Channel 7's Seoul Bureau occupied the 8th and 9th floors of a mid-rise building in Jongno-gu, close enough to government centers for convenient access to official sources, far enough from financial districts to maintain nominal editorial independence. Taryn had freelanced for them twice before, knew the building layout, knew which editors had authority to make fast decisions, knew which producers would take risks for good stories. The problem was getting inside without being intercepted first. They approached from the south, staying in the morning crowds, office workers heading to early shifts, students catching trains, delivery men on scooters weaving through traffic. Faces down against rain, bodies hunched, 3 more shadows in Seoul's morning rush. Anonymous. Unremarkable. Desperate. Halfway to their destination, Minji stopped walking. Appa. His voice was small, frightened. Look up. He was pointing at the sky. Taryn followed his gaze and her stomach dropped. A drone. Small commercial-grade quadcopter hovering at building height about 100 meters away. Its camera was pointed directly at them, tracking with mechanical precision. Move! Seonwoo snapped, already pulling Minjae toward the recessed entrance of a shuttered restaurant. Taryn dove after them, pressing against the wall as the drone adjusted position, following their movement with insect-like precision. They've found us, Taryn said, stating the obvious because sometimes stating the obvious helped process panic. They've been tracking us. Seonwoo was scanning the street, looking for other threats. Probably since we left the PC bang. Facial recognition on the CCTV network. We showed up on enough cameras that their algorithms triangulated location and dispatched mobile surveillance. Then why haven't they grabbed us? Minjae asked, voice shaking but question sharp. 10 years old but tactical thinking beyond his age. Because they're hurting us, Seonwoo answered grimly. Away from population centers. Toward somewhere they can implement Phase 3 without witnesses. They want us isolated. The tactical precision was horrifying. Taryn peered around the corner, rain obscuring details, but not the basic situation. The drone had moved closer, now hovering barely 30 feet away. Through the rain, she could see the detail of its camera lens, the subtle adjustments as it maintained perfect framing. Somewhere, someone was watching this feed live, coordinating ground teams, calculating vectors, and timing and optimal elimination points. We can't get to Channel 7 without leading them right to it, Seonwoo said. They'll follow us, storm the building, kill everyone necessary to stop the broadcast. We can't risk civilian casualties. Then we changed the plan again. Taryn's mind raced through options, drawing on every action movie she'd ever seen and hating how real this was compared to fiction. Your phone, you still have it? Yes, but it's off. If I turn it on, they'll track it. I know, that's the point. She grabbed his arm, urgent. Call your secretary. Tell her we're going to the American Embassy. Make sure the call is intercepted. Make sure they hear exactly where we're going. Understanding dawned on Seonwoo's face. Misdirection. While they're repositioning teams to intercept us at the embassy, we actually go to Channel 7. Different direction. Maybe 20 minutes before they realize we lied. Maybe less. But it's something. It's not enough time to get on air. Security screening, negotiations, setup. Then we don't negotiate. We force our way in. We go live on social media if necessary. Raw footage, no editing, you talking directly to camera. I'll stream it to every platform simultaneously. They can take down one feed but not 50. Not fast enough to stop the spread. She pulled out her own dead phone, calculated risks. Modern journalism isn't about gatekeepers anymore. It's about getting the truth out fast enough that suppression becomes impossible. Seonwoo looked at his son, then at the drone hovering like a mechanical vulture, then back at Taryn. This is insane. We're improvising against professionals with unlimited resources. You have a better idea? He didn't. Which was answer enough. Okay. He pulled out his phone, held it like it might explode. In a way it would. The moment he powered it on, they'd light up every tracking system Hanul controlled. Here goes everything. The phone came to life. Screen lit up with a cascade of notifications. Missed calls, messages, emergency alerts. Every communication he'd missed during 48 hours of running. The digital world catching up all at once. He found Park Ji-won's number in his contacts. Hesitated 1 heartbeat, then called. 3 rings. A breathless voice answered. Sajangnim, where are you? Are you safe? Everyone is looking for you. Ji-won, listen carefully. Seonwoo pitched his voice for clarity, knowing others were listening. We're going to the American Embassy. I'm turning myself into them for protection. I have evidence of crimes committed by Hanul Corporation, and I'm requesting asylum pending investigation. Have the lawyers meet us there. Tell my mother. He paused, injected emotion into his voice. Real emotion, easy to find. Tell my mother I'm sorry. I know she won't understand, but I have to do this. For Min-jae, to keep him safe. The call was cut off by a sharp beep, terminated remotely. Someone had been listening, confirmed what they needed, killed the connection. Seon-woo powered the phone off immediately, but the damage, or misdirection, was done. They heard it, he said. They're moving teams now. Every asset they have will be converging on the embassy to cut us off before we can reach diplomatic protection. Good. Then we go. Now. Run. They ran. Out of the alcove, into rain, no longer bothering with stealth. The drone followed immediately, broadcasting their position, but that was expected now. Behind them, somewhere in the maze of Seoul streets, ground teams were being redirected, resources flowing toward the embassy like water finding its level. Predictable. Exploitable. Ahead, Channel 7's building waited. 8 blocks, maybe 6 minutes at full sprint. Maybe 4 if they pushed. They covered the distance in stages. Sprint, slow to fast walk to avoid attention. Sprint again when streets were clear. Min-jae started falling behind, legs too short, exhaustion overwhelming adrenaline. Seon-woo scooped him up without breaking stride, carrying the boy despite ragged breathing and injured ribs protesting. The drone stayed with them. Patient. Precise. Mechanical eye that never blinked, never tired, never doubted. They reached Channel 7 at 7:33 a.m., 43 minutes before the board meeting that would make Han Seojin's power legitimate. Maybe 15 minutes before ground teams realized the embassy call was misdirection and redirected to their actual location. The lobby was empty, except for a sleepy security guard nursing coffee and watching news on a small television. He looked up as 3 soaked, desperate people burst through the entrance, tracking water across polished floors. Taryn strode to the front desk, dripping rain, face flushed, entire body screaming urgency. I need Rachel Kim. Foreign News Desk, 9th floor. Tell her Taryn King is here with an exclusive on the Ryu Seon-woo disappearance. Tell her we have evidence. Tell her it's happening now. The guard looked at Seon-woo, recognition dawning slowly. Looked at the boy in his arms. Looked back at Taryn. Made calculations between protocol and news instinct. I'll call upstairs. 2 minutes later, the elevator doors opened. Rachel Kim stepped out, mid-40s, expensive suit somehow perfect despite the early hour. Sharp eyes from 20 years chasing stories in hostile territories. She took in the 3 of them at a glance. Processed the situation between heartbeats. Saw the story written in torn clothes and bruised faces and desperate eyes. Newsroom, she said without preamble. Now, before I change my mind or someone stops us. They followed her into the elevator. As the doors closed, Taryn saw through the lobby glass. A black sedan pulling up outside. 2 men getting out, moving toward the entrance with purpose. We have maybe 5 minutes, Taryn said as the elevator rose. Before they force their way up here, before they cut power or create emergency that forces evacuation. 5 minutes to get him on camera. Rachel didn't flinch, didn't question, just nodded. Then let's not waste them. The Channel 7 newsroom occupied the 9th floor. Open plan of desks and monitors. Empty except for overnight crew wrapping up and morning staff just arriving. The coffee was terrible, but plentiful. The energy was that particular pre-dawn exhaustion of journalists who lived on deadlines and caffeine. Rachel led them past curious stairs to a conference room with glass walls. Gestured them inside. Closed the door. Turned to face Seon-woo with an expression that suggested she'd heard every lie, seen every manipulation, and wouldn't tolerate either. Talk, she said. 2 minutes to convince me this isn't a publicity stunt or mental health episode. Make it good. Seon-woo set Min-jae down gently. The boy immediately retreated to a corner chair, curling into himself, backpack clutched tight, his security object, his portable safety. Then Seon-woo faced Rachel, voice steady despite exhaustion carved into every line of his face. My name is Ryu Seonwoo. I'm CEO of Hanul Corporation. 4 days ago, I discovered my company has been conducting illegal surveillance and intimidation operations for 6 years. When I tried to shut it down, my second-in-command, Han Seojin, activated a corporate kill team to eliminate me before I could go public. I have evidence. Everything is documented. Financial records, surveillance logs, communications proving conspiracy and premeditated murder. I'm ready to confess my own complicity if it means bringing down the system we built. But I need protection. I need cameras. I need the world watching so they can't kill us without confirming everything I'm about to say. Rachel's expression didn't change. Evidence? Taryn pulled out the USB drive, held it up. Everything. Verifiable. Cross-referenced with independent sources. I've reviewed the files. They're legitimate. You're the American journalist they're looking for, the one supposedly involved in his disappearance. I found him in an alley 3 days ago, made the choice to help instead of just documenting. Now they're targeting me too. Taryn met Rachel's eyes. I know how this sounds, but you received an anonymous encrypted file yesterday. Someone sent you part of this story. This is that truth. Complete. Unfiltered. And we have maybe 3 minutes before Hanul security shows up to stop this interview by any means necessary. Rachel pulled out her phone, made a call, spoke briefly in Korean, voice commanding, hung up, turned back to them. My technical team will verify those files while we're recording. If they're legitimate, we run the story. Full interview, no editing, live stream to our international feed, but you go on record. Everything. No conditions, no editorial control. I ask the questions, you answer honestly, and whatever happens, happens. Clear? Clear. Seonwoo agreed. Conference room B. Cameras already set up for morning broadcasts. We'll use that. She was already moving, phone to ear again, rapid instructions in Korean and English. Security, lock down the floor. No one in or out without my authorization. Technical, get that USB verified, pull key documents, have them ready for on-screen display. Producers, prep for emergency live stream, all international feeds, get legal ready for whatever comes next. They were moving toward the adjacent room when the elevator dinged. Everyone froze. 2 men in suits stepped out. Not security guards, not police. Corporate operatives, better trained than the motel team, moving with professional efficiency. They scanned the newsroom, eyes landing immediately on the glass-walled conference room. On Seonwoo. Security, one of them called to the overnight editor, voice reasonable but firm. Hanul Corporation. We're here to retrieve Mr. Ryu for medical evaluation. Family request per Mrs. An Hye-sok, his mother. We have authorization. The editor looked confused, looked toward Rachel for guidance. She stepped out of the conference room, planting herself between the operatives and her people. This is an active news investigation, she said, voice carrying absolute authority. You have no jurisdiction here. This is private property. You're not police. You have no warrant. Leave now, or I call building security and the actual police. We are building security. The operative smiled slightly, knowing smile that carried implicit threat. Hanul has consulting contracts with the management company. We have every right to be here. The implication landed like ice water. Hanul's reach extended everywhere. Building security, police departments, political offices. There was no neutral ground, no safe space where corporate power couldn't reach. Rachel didn't flinch. Then I'm invoking press freedom protections. Mr. Ryu is here voluntarily as a source for an ongoing investigation into corporate crimes. Any attempt to remove him constitutes interference with journalistic operations and violation of international press freedoms. We have cameras recording this entire interaction. We have international legal counsel on standby. You want to start an international incident over one interview? Go ahead. Make this easier for us. The second operative moved, trying to flank toward the conference room. Rachel stepped sideways, blocking. Behind her, 3 producers materialized, positioning themselves as human shields. No one was touching Seonwoo without going through them first. Min-jae. The first operative changed tactics, addressing the boy directly. Voice softening, becoming almost paternal. It's okay. We're here to help. Your grandmother is very worried about you. She just wants you safe. Don't you want to see your grandmother? Min-jae's head snapped up. His eyes went wide with not relief, but terror. Min-jae doesn't call his grandmother by that title, Seonwoo said quietly, realization dawning. He has his own name for her, family nickname. Only people who actually know our family would know what he calls her. You're reading from a file someone gave you. You don't know anything about my son except what's in a corporate dossier. The operative's face hardened slightly. Calculation happening. How much force was acceptable here with cameras potentially rolling? We're going to do this one of two ways, Rachel said, voice steel wrapped in professional courtesy. Either you leave now and we conduct our interview in peace, or you stay and become part of the story, including your identities, your employers, and the fact that you just attempted to remove a witness from a news organization at gunpoint. Your choice. Make it in the next 5 seconds. The operatives exchanged glances, some communication in subtle body language. The newsroom had 6 witnesses now, overnight crew watching with that predatory attention journalists developed for potential stories. Too many eyes, too much exposure. The cost-benefit calculation was shifting. We'll wait downstairs, the first operative said finally. When you're finished with your interview, we'll still be available to provide appropriate assistance. They left, but nobody relaxed. They're not leaving the building, Taryn said. They're repositioning, waiting for reinforcements or waiting for us to come down. Either way, we're trapped here after the interview. Then we worry about that after the interview. Rachel was already moving toward conference room B, her team falling in around her with practiced efficiency. Right now, we get him on camera. That's the only thing that matters. She led them to a smaller conference room, 2 chairs facing each other with a camera on tripod positioned for clean shots, lighting adjusted for interview format. Basic setup, but professional enough for broadcast. Taryn handed over the USB drive to a young producer who ran off to the technical department. Rachel positioned herself behind the camera, checking framing. We go live in 3 minutes, she announced. Brief introduction establishing context, then interview format. Taryn, you're off camera but stay close in case we need corroboration. Min-jae. She looked at the boy, expression softening slightly. There's a break room down the hall. Couch, television, snacks. You don't need to watch this. Yes, I do. Min-jae's voice was small but determined. Appa is going to tell the truth. I want to see him be brave. I need to remember it for later. Seonwoo's eyes filled. He crossed to his son, knelt to eye level despite his injured ribs protesting. You've already seen me be brave. You don't need to watch this part. I do. Because when I'm scared later, and I will be scared later, I want to remember that you chose truth over fear. That's what you're teaching me. That's what matters. They stared at each other, father and son, the reason for everything. Okay, Seonwoo whispered. You can watch, but if anyone tells you to leave, you leave immediately. Promise? I promise, Appa. Rachel checked her watch. 2 minutes. Seonwoo in the chair. Taryn, test the backup recording on your phone. The countdown began. Seonwoo sat, tried to smooth his disheveled appearance. Failed. He looked exactly like what he was, a man who'd been running for his life for 3 days, which would make the story more believable. Sometimes truth looked messy, because truth was messy. Taryn found Min-jae's hand, held it. The boy squeezed back, fingers tiny and trembling, but grip determined. 30 seconds. The technical producer burst back in. Files are legitimate. Financial records match public filings where checkable. Metadata indicates original creation, not fabrication. We've got enough to run with this. 15 seconds. Rachel positioned herself behind the camera, professional mask settling over whatever emotion she felt. This was the job. Tell the truth. Let the consequences fall where they fall. 5 seconds. The red light blinked on. Rachel looked directly into the lens, voice steady and authoritative. Good morning. This is Rachel Kim reporting for Channel 7 International News. We're coming to you live from our Seoul bureau with breaking news in the Ryu Seon-woo disappearance case that has captivated South Korea for the past 3 days. I'm joined now by Mr. Ryu himself, who has agreed to speak publicly for the first time since vanishing from public view. Mr. Ryu, thank you for being here. She turned to Seon-woo. The camera followed, finding his face. Bruised, exhausted, but lucid, determined. Can you tell our viewers, in your own words, what happened? Where have you been? Why did you disappear? Seon-woo took a breath, met the camera's unblinking eye, and began to dismantle his entire life. My name is Ryu Seon-woo. I'm the CEO of Hanoul Corporation, one of South Korea's largest technology and security companies, and for the past 6 years, under my leadership, and with my approval, my company has been conducting systematic illegal operations against Korean citizens and international targets. I'm here today to confess my involvement, expose the full scope of these crimes, and name the people responsible, including myself. 2 million people were watching within 30 seconds. Screen recording started uploading immediately. Within 2 minutes, the story was trending across 6 countries. The truth spreading faster than any corporate PR team could suppress. Seon-woo continued without notes, without hesitation. He detailed Project Sentinel's operations. The surveillance, the harassment, the covered-up deaths. Named Han Seo-jin as the architect. Named board members who'd known and authorized. Named politicians who'd taken money to look away. Named contractors who'd implemented operations. Named himself as complicit through willful ignorance. Rachel asked precise questions designed to extract maximum clarity, drawing on years of investigative experience. Can you provide specific examples? Dates, amounts, incidents that can be independently verified? Yes. Seon-woo pulled documents from his jacket, printouts from the USB drive. On March 15, 2022, Hanoul paid 150 million won to a contractor firm called Secure Tech Solutions. That payment was documented as consulting services, but it actually funded surveillance operations against labor organizers at our Gumi manufacturing facility. I have the communications showing operational planning, target identification, and implementation reports. I signed the budget authorization without asking what the money was actually for. The technical producer fed verified documents to Rachel in real time, financial transfers matching Seon-woo's testimony, internal communications corroborating his timeline, everything checking out, everything provable. What about the construction worker deaths you mentioned? Rachel pressed. Can you provide evidence? September 2023, Songdo Development Project. 3 workers died when scaffolding collapsed. The investigation ruled it accidental. But I have emails between Han Seo-jin and the site manager discussing how the scaffolding was deliberately compromised after the workers threatened to expose safety violations to the media. The families were paid 200 million won each with non-disclosure agreements. I can provide the names, the dates, the payment records, all of it. By minute 30, the story wasn't just credible. It was irrefutable. Too many details, too much corroboration. Too specific to be mental health delusion or fabrication. Why are you coming forward now? Rachel asked. What changed? I discovered the full scope 3 weeks ago. Tried to shut it down internally. Trusted the wrong people. My head of security, Park Jun-ho, who was like a brother to me, he brought me the evidence. He died for it. They murdered him and made it look like suicide. Then they came for me and my son. Tried to kill us to protect the system we'd built. Seon-woo's voice cracked. I'm doing this because my son is watching, and I want him to know that truth matters more than comfort. That choosing right over easy is possible even when it comes too late. That being brave means being terrified and doing it anyway. At minute 39, the fire alarm went off. Loud, insistent, building-wide emergency protocol activating. But Rachel had expected this. She didn't flinch, didn't stop recording. "Keep talking," she said calmly. "This is exactly what we anticipated. They're trying to force evacuation. We keep going." Below them, 3 more vehicles had arrived. Corporate security in force, no longer maintaining pretense. They'd triggered the fire alarm to create chaos they could exploit. Justification for forced entry under emergency protocols. "We need to finish this," Sianwoo said urgently. "They're coming. They'll cut power or storm this floor or both. Then give me your conclusion, the key point. What do you want people to know?" Sianwoo faced the camera directly. Everything stripped away except raw honesty. "I built Hanul Corporation from almost nothing, created 30,000 jobs, contributed to Korea's technological advancement. I believed I was building the future. But somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing people as people and started seeing them as obstacles or assets. I approved operations without questioning their morality. I trusted people who used my authority to commit crimes. I was complicit through ignorance that was really just cowardice disguised as business necessity." He paused, gathering himself. "I'm calling on Korean prosecutors to immediately investigate Hanul Corporation. I'm calling on international authorities to freeze company assets pending investigation. And I'm calling on every person who's been targeted by our operations, every journalist, every activist, every citizen whose life we violated, to come forward. Tell your stories. Make it impossible for them to bury this with money and lawyers and manufactured doubt." Another pause. Harder this time. "I know I'll face prosecution. I deserve to. I'm not asking for mercy or sympathy. I'm asking for accountability, for the system to work the way it's supposed to, for the truth to matter more than protecting corporate interests." His eyes glistened. "My son is 10 years old. He's seen things no child should see, learned lessons no child should have to learn. If I can give him anything, if I can leave him any legacy worth having, it's this. His father chose truth when it mattered, even though it came too late, even though it destroyed everything else." The building shook. Not the alarm. Actual explosion. Small and controlled, coming from 3 floors below. Loud enough to rattle the windows, shake dust from ceiling tiles. "They just bombed the 6th floor security office," Rachel said, phone pressed to her ear, listening to panicked building security. 2 casualties, creating justification for emergency forced entry. We have maybe 2 minutes. Then we end this now. Sianwoo turned back to the camera one final time. "Everything I've said today is documented on the USB drive I've given to Channel 7. The evidence is real. The crimes are real. The guilt is real. And as of this moment, I'm placing myself under protection of international media and requesting asylum with the American Embassy pending formal charges. I'm ready to cooperate fully with any legitimate investigation. I'm ready to face the consequences of what I've done." He took a breath. "To the people who've been hurt by Hanul's operations, I'm sorry. That doesn't fix anything. But you deserve to hear it. To Han Seojin and everyone involved in these crimes, you're exposed now. The world knows. Run if you want. But you can't hide from this. And to my son," his voice finally broke, "Min-jae, I'm sorry you had to see this. Sorry for everything. But I hope someday you'll understand that being brave means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. I love you. Everything I've done, everything I'm about to face, it was worth it to keep you safe." The studio door burst open. 4 operatives this time, weapons drawn but not yet aimed. Professional discipline holding against the urge to end this immediately. "Cut the feed," the lead operative shouted. "No," Rachel said calmly, positioning herself between them and the camera. "This is international broadcast. Live feed to 14 countries. 4 million people watching. You want to commit assault on camera with the whole world as witness? Go ahead. Prove everything he just said." The operatives hesitated. Training versus optics. orders versus consequences. Every second they delayed, more people were recording this moment on their phones, uploading it to social media, creating redundancies faster than any suppression could work. "We're done," Rachel announced. "Feed's been archived on 12 international servers, encrypted backups in 4 countries. You can cut power now if you want. The story's already out there." But the operatives weren't here for the interview anymore. They were here for Seon-woo. "Mr. Ryu, you need to come with us. Now." By order of who?" Rachel challenged. "Han Seojin? He has no legal authority. You're private security with no jurisdiction. Mr. Ryu has requested asylum. He's under our protection until proper authorities arrive." "We are the proper authorities." "No, you're corporate thugs with weapons. There's a difference." Behind them, from the stairwell, smoke was billowing. Thick, black, acrid. Not from the 6th floor explosion. This was closer. Deliberate. They were forcing evacuation through multiple pressure points. "Roof," Taryn said urgently. "Rachel, tell me you have an exit plan." "Helicopter from our parent network, already en route. 12 minutes out. Diplomatic immunity once we're airborne. But we have to get there. Then we move. Now." They ran. Out of the conference room, through the newsroom now filling with smoke. Producers grabbed essential equipment, hard drives with the interview, backup recordings. Rachel led the way, phone to her ear coordinating with pilots and embassy contacts. Seon-woo carried Minji, the boy's arms wrapped around his father's neck, face pressed against his shoulder. The operatives followed but didn't shoot. Not yet. Too many witnesses. Too many cameras. The interview had changed the calculation. Killing Seon-woo now would confirm everything he'd said. They reached the service stairs, began climbing. Smoke was thicker here, visibility dropping. Someone had set fires on multiple floors, creating chaos throughout the building. "Keep moving," Rachel ordered. 3 more floors. They climbed through smoke and fear, through the particular terror of enclosed spaces filling with toxic air. Min-jae was coughing. Seon-woo's breathing was ragged from his injured ribs in the exertion. But they kept climbing because stopping meant dying. Behind them, the operatives maintained pursuit, relentless, professional, waiting for the moment when tactical advantage outweighed political optics. They burst through the roof access door into rain and wind. Seoul sprawled below, mourning gray and indifferent to human drama playing out on rooftops and in boardrooms. The helicopter was visible now, descending toward the building's marked landing zone. Yellow and white, Channel 7 logo on the side, salvation in the form of rotating blades. And between them and that helicopter stood 3 more operatives, a wall of corporate authority blocking their only escape. "Mr. Ryu," the lead operative said, voice calm despite the chaos. "This has gone far enough. Your interview is done. The story's out. Come with us quietly and no one else gets hurt." "No." Seon-woo's voice was hoarse from smoke but absolutely certain. "I'm not going anywhere with you. You want me? You'll have to take me in front of international cameras." The helicopter touched down, door sliding open. A cameraman was already filming, documenting everything. This wasn't just rescue. It was theater. Protection through publicity taken to its logical extreme. The operatives didn't move forward, calculation happening in real time. Could they grab Seon-woo and escape before the helicopter crew intervened? Could they justify the optics? Every second of delay was being broadcast, recorded, analyzed. "They set fire to the stairwell," Rachel said, looking back at smoke billowing from the access door. "They're not trying to capture you anymore. They're trying to make this look like you died in an accident. Tragic fire. Everyone tried to save you, so sorry for the loss." "Then we don't give them that story," Taryn said. "We run. Now. Through them if we have to." They ran, straight at the operatives who hadn't expected direct confrontation from people who should have been terrified. Seon-woo led with Min-jae in his arms, using his body as shield. Taryn swung her bag at the nearest operative, connected hard enough to stagger him. Rachel and her producers followed with improvised weapons, Fire extinguishers, camera tripods, anything within reach. 10 meters to the helicopter. 5. Hands grabbed Taryn from behind. One of the operatives, recovered and furious. She twisted, drove her elbow back into soft tissue. He grunted but didn't let go, grip tightening painfully on her arms. Then Rachel hit him with a fire extinguisher, full swing, and he went down. "Get in!" Rachel shoved Taryn toward the helicopter. Seonwoo was already inside. Min-jae buckled beside him. Taryn dove through the door, Rachel right after. The producers followed, and the pilot didn't wait for formal clearance. Just lifted, immediate ascent, the roof falling away below them. Through the open door, Taryn watched the operatives scramble, watched smoke pour from the building, watched the 9th floor windows glow orange with spreading fire. Evidence burning. Crime scene being systematically destroyed even as they escaped it. "The files," Seonwoo said urgently. "Rachel, tell me you have backups. Tell me we didn't just trade that building for nothing." 12 servers, 4 countries, cloud storage and physical drives. Multiple journalists already downloading copies. Rachel was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but her voice was steady. "They can burn the building. They can kill us. But they can't unring this bell. The truth is out there now. It belongs to the world." The helicopter banked, heading southeast toward the American embassy, toward diplomatic protection, toward the messy, complicated aftermath of doing the right thing at enormous cost. Min-jae looked out the window at Seoul shrinking below, at the building they'd just escaped trailing smoke like a funeral pyre. "Is it over, Appa?" Seonwoo met Taryn's eyes across the helicopter's cramped interior. She saw the answer in his expression before he spoke. This wasn't over. This was barely begun. Trials would come, prison sentences, civil suits, years of legal battles and public scrutiny, and the slow grinding machinery of justice trying to catch up with corporate power. But out loud, to his son, he said, "The running is over. The truth is told. The rest, we face it together. Whatever comes, together." Min-jae leaned against his father's side, exhausted beyond words. "Okay, Appa. Together." Below them, Seoul continued its indifferent morning. Traffic jams forming, offices opening, the city's machinery grinding forward while their lives transformed completely. Somewhere in a corporate office, Han Seojin was watching the interview, calculating options, making calls. The fight wasn't over. But the battlefield had changed. And for the first time in 72 hours, Seonwoo and his son were safe. For now. That was all anyone ever got. For now. The message came on a Tuesday afternoon, 7 years after everything had started. Taryn was in her Seoul apartment. She'd moved back 3 years ago, drawn by unfinished business and the strange comfort of a city that held her worst memories and her most important work. The text was from a number she didn't recognize. Hangang Park, Banpo Bridge, 6 p.m. If you're available, no pressure. S. Her heart stopped. She'd assumed she'd never see Seonwoo again, never hear from him directly. The photograph he'd sent years ago, father and son hiking somewhere mountainous and safe, had felt like closure. But apparently closure was provisional. She arrived at 5:50 p.m., journalist habit of being early. The park was busy with evening joggers, couples, families enjoying late spring weather. The Han River reflected sunset colors, beautiful in the way Seoul could be when you stopped seeing it as backdrop to crisis. She spotted him at 6:03 p.m. Different again. Shorter hair now, graying at temples, dressed in casual clothes that made him look like any other middle-aged man enjoying the evening. But his posture was unmistakable. And when he saw her, his smile was genuine, carrying years of gratitude and shared history. "You came," he said in English. His accent had softened, picked up inflections from wherever he'd been living. "I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I until I was already on the subway." She gestured to the bench. "Can we sit?" "Sitting is better. My knees aren't what they used to be." He sat with a slight grimace that spoke to middle age arriving whether you were ready or not. How have you been? That's a very big question for a Tuesday evening. Fair. How have you been in ways you're willing to tell a person who upended your life 7 years ago? She laughed despite herself. Busy. Still reporting. Still chasing stories. Less successfully than Hanul, but more sustainably. I learned my capacity for sustained trauma reporting. Learned when to step back before the stories consume me. I read your work, when I can access it safely. You're good. Better than you were. Trauma and Pulitzers will do that to a person. They sat in silence for a moment, watching the river. A street performer played guitar nearby, something instrumental and melancholy. People passed without recognizing either of them. Seonwoo because he'd been forgotten by a world that moved on. Taran because journalists worked in bylines, not faces. Why are you here? Taran asked finally. In Seoul, breaking protection protocols. Min-jae wanted to see Korea again. Seonwoo's voice carried complicated emotion. He's 17 now, applying to universities. Started asking questions about where he came from, about his family, about what actually happened versus what he remembers. What did you tell him? The truth, all of it. Showed him the trial transcripts, the news coverage, your articles. He looked at her. He wanted to meet you. The journalist who told the story right, who made sure his father wasn't a hero or villain, just a person who failed and tried to fail less. Is he here? Nearby, waiting to see if you'd agree. Seonwoo pulled out his phone. I told him it was a lot to ask. I'd like to meet him, Taran said without hesitation. 2 minutes later, a teenager approached. Tall, lean, wearing headphones around his neck, expression caught between curiosity and apprehension. Min-jae at 17 looked nothing like the terrified 10-year-old she remembered except in the eyes. The eyes were the same, serious, intelligent, old in ways they shouldn't be. Min-jae, this is Taran King. Taran, my son. Hi. Min-jae's English was flawless, accent more North American than Korean. Thank you for meeting us. I know this is weird. I've had weirder Tuesday evenings, Taran said, earning a small smile. How are you? I'm okay. Good, actually. Therapy helped. Normal life helped. Not being hunted by corporate assassins definitely helped. The joke was delivered with practiced ease but truth underneath. But I'm here because I wanted to say thank you. For everything you did. For not making my dad into something he wasn't. For telling the complicated truth instead of the easy story. You read the articles? All of them. Multiple times. They're part of my college application essays. How journalism can create accountability without destroying nuance. He looked embarrassed. My guidance counselor thinks I'm being too heavy, but Appa says write what matters. Your father is right, Taran said. What are you planning to study? Ethics, philosophy, maybe law. Something that helps me understand how systems fail and how to build better ones. I know I can't fix what happened. Can't undo the harm Hanul caused. But I can make sure I don't perpetuate those systems. They talked for another hour. About small things mostly. Min-jae's applications, Taran's current investigations, Seonwoo's work teaching business ethics online under assumed name. Normal conversation of people whose lives had intersected in extraordinary circumstances, but who were just humans now, trying to build meaning from aftermath. As the sun set and park lights came on, Seonwoo stood. We should go. Long trip back and early flight tomorrow. Where are you heading? Back to normal life, wherever that is now. Seonwoo held out his hand. Thank you. For meeting us. For everything then and everything since. For being the person who told the truth without needing us to be heroes. Taran shook his hand, then Min-jae's. Take care of each other. Keep building the better version. We will, Min-jae promised. They walked away, father and son, silhouettes against the Seoul skyline. Taran watched them go, feeling the particular bittersweetness of endings that weren't really endings, just pauses in ongoing stories. That night, Taryn pulled out the folder of keepsakes from the investigation. The photograph of Seonwoo and Min-jae hiking, the USB drive with backup evidence, the handwritten note thanking her for telling the story right, and at the bottom, the oldest piece. A child's drawing, given to her the morning they'd left the first motel. Crayon sketch of 3 people, man, woman, child, holding hands. Above them, in careful English, being brave together. Min-jae had drawn it during those first desperate days of running, had pressed it into her hand and said, "For when you're scared. So you remember we're doing the hard thing together." She'd carried it through everything that followed. Through the interview. Through the trials where she'd testified about what she'd witnessed. Through the years of aftermath and second-guessing, and wondering if any of it had mattered. Now, looking at it in her apartment with city lights painting her walls and soul humming below, Taryn understood what she'd been too close to see at the time. The point had never been fixing everything. The point was refusing to accept that nothing could be fixed. The point was choosing to be brave together even when brave meant scared, and together meant isolated, and the outcome meant complicated. They told a truth the world didn't want to hear. Some people had listened. Most hadn't. The system continued with minor adjustments. Power protected itself as power always did. But somewhere, a 17-year-old was studying ethics because he'd learned courage mattered more than comfort. Somewhere, other journalists were citing Hanul precedent in their investigations. Somewhere, a whistleblower was choosing to speak because seeing someone survive speaking made it seem possible. That was the echo. Not immediate change. Not systematic reform. Just the knowledge that resistance was possible. That truth could be told. That choosing right over easy was an option even when the cost was unbearable. Taryn had spent 7 years wondering if that was enough. Tonight, looking at a child's drawing of people being brave together, she decided it was. Not because the work was done. The work was never done. But because the work continued. And continuing was its own form of victory. Han Seojin had died in prison, year 5 of his sentence. Heart attack, officially. Taryn suspected but couldn't prove someone had arranged it, either enemies he'd betrayed or allies he might testify against. She'd filed FOIA requests, got stonewalled, eventually let it go because some truths couldn't be proven and exhausting yourself chasing them helped no one. An Hee-seok had served 18 months, released early for cooperation and age. She gave one interview expressing regret without admitting specific wrongdoing. Whether Min-jae ever forgave her, Taryn never learned. Some wounds were private. The reforms they'd hoped for had been watered down, delayed, quietly shelved when public attention waned. The chaebol system continued. Corporate power remained concentrated, but whistleblower protections had improved slightly. Surveillance oversight had increased marginally. Small victories that didn't feel like enough, but were something. She opened her laptop and started researching a new story, environmental crimes by a shipping conglomerate. It wouldn't be as big as Hanul, probably wouldn't change anything systemic. But it would create record, would document harm, would make hiding slightly harder. That was the job. Creating record until record became history, and history made the next act of courage slightly less impossible. Outside, Seoul continued its indifferent night. The city where a journalist had found a CEO in an alley and chosen involvement over observation. 7 years later, they were all still living with that choice, still processing costs and consequences, still trying to build meaning from rubble. But they were alive. They were trying. They were choosing to remember that courage wasn't absence of fear, but action despite it. And in a world designed to make truth-telling impossible, that was enough. It had to be. Because the alternative was giving up. And giving up meant the Seojins of the world had already won. The echo continued. Faint sometimes. Easy to miss. But there. That was how systems changed. Not through single heroic acts, but through accumulated courage. Through people choosing truth despite cost. Through documentation that became precedent, that became expectation. It was slow, incomplete, frustrating and painful, and never quite enough. But it was something. And something Taryn had finally learned was better than nothing. That would have to be enough.